Hey everyone, you ready for a deep dive into a field that sounds like a riddle wrapped in an enigma? We're talking about religion scientific researchers,
Oh, yeah.
which at first glance sounds like it could be a pretty wild combination.
Yeah, it does.
But judging by the stack of career guides and interview prep materials you sent over, someone out there is seriously considering this path.
It's definitely a unique one, that's for sure.
It is.
Yeah.
So basically, we're talking about folks who use logic and analysis to explore like beliefs and the big questions about existence.
Exactly, those really big questions
Oh
that
my
we all
goodness.
grapple with,
Right.
the meaning of life, ethics, morality.
Yeah. Okay, so first things first.
Yeah.
The career guide keeps mentioning rationality as a core part of this job,
Uh-huh.
which I gotta say isn't the first word that
Yeah.
pops to mind when I think
Yeah.
religion, you know?
I know, it seems a little counterintuitive, right?
Yeah.
People think religion, they think faith, belief, not necessarily cold, hard logic.
Yeah.
But that's where things get really interesting because it's about bringing that objective analysis to the study of belief systems.
So it's not about saying like one religion is right
No, not at all.
and the other's wrong.
No, it's not about proving or disproving anything.
Yep.
It's about understanding the how and why,
Got it.
looking at the different approaches to ethical dilemmas,
Right.
the history, the psychology of belief itself.
Okay, so this is like serious intellectual work.
Oh, absolutely.
This is not just like Sunday school stuff.
No, you got it. This is deep diving into philosophy, theology.
Because the guide mentions those specifically.
Yes, and for good reason.
Philosophy and theology,
Yes,
rated at 94% importance for this career path.
you need that strong foundation to even begin to grasp these ancient texts, the evolution of interpretations, the sheer diversity of thought throughout history.
Wow, okay, so who are these religion scientific researchers then? Like, what does their career path actually look like?
Good question. And it's not always what you might expect. It's not always confined to, dusty libraries and academia.
Okay.
So that's certainly part of it. It often starts with something like maybe a research assistant position, maybe for a professor working on a book about comparative religions. But it can go in so many directions from there. You could end up leading your own research projects, presenting your findings at conferences.
So you're like out there in the world presenting to people about this.
You might consult for organizations
Oh, wow.
that are dealing with ethically complex issues, especially ones with religious dimensions. Think about the debates around things like genetic engineering or AI, artificial intelligence.
Oh, right.
Those are areas where a deep understanding of religious and ethical frameworks is super important.
So even if I, myself, am not particularly religious, the work of these researchers still impacts me
100%.
because they're shaping the ethical landscape of our society.
Yes, they're grappling with the why behind our values, the roots of our moral compass. And those have ripple effects on everything.
Okay, now I gotta ask, this is straight from the FAQ section of the guide. Do you have to be religious to do this job?
The million-dollar question. And honestly, it's probably the most common one people have about this line of work. Short answer is no, you don't.
Right.
You don't have to be religious to do this kind of work.
No.
In fact, maintaining objectivity,
Yeah.
that's really, really crucial in this field.
So you're saying someone who is like an atheist
Yeah,
could be a religion scientific researcher?
absolutely.
Wow, I gotta admit, that's not what I pictured when I...
It's not about
Yeah.
it's not about subscribing to a specific belief system yourself.
Okay.
It's about being able to approach
Right.
each belief system,
Got it.
each ethical dilemma with a clear and impartial lens.
So it's more about like the approach than the actual commitment to research.
It's about intellectual rigor. It's about empathy, really.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so one other thing that kind of surprised me when I was looking at the materials is like the skills section.
Oh, yeah.
Because, I mean, yeah, research, analysis, that all tracks.
Of course. Yeah.
But public speaking, negotiation,
All right.
I thought these were like the bookworm types.
Right.
Like, what's with all the people skills?
Well, and you're right. You need those analytical skills as a foundation.
Right.
But then it's like, okay,
Yeah.
how do you then take that and share those findings often to a very diverse audience?
Yeah.
You might be working with communities to understand the social impact of religious beliefs. And then on top of that, you've got to think about things like even securing funding,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Like grant writing is a key responsibility.
Right, because you got to get
You
that
gotta get the money
to do the research.
Exactly. So you're not just a lone scholar tucked away in a library somewhere.
So it's much more like
It's much more, it's dynamic, it's social.
Yeah.
There's an element, I think, of diplomacy to it.
Okay.
Of bridging different perspectives, maybe even influencing policy decisions. I mean, think about, like, we were talking about the ethical implications of AI.
Right.
A religion scientific researcher could provide some really valuable insights.
Oh, that's interesting.
To tech companies, to government agencies that are grappling with these very questions.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not what I thought it was at all.
Yeah.
But, and I know you saw this one coming, job market. The guide itself lists limited opportunities as a potential downside.
Yeah. Is
this a dead end?
You're right to ask that. It's a practical concern, and it's a niche field.
Okay.
It's not like you're going to see religion scientific researcher wanted signs everywhere. However, I will say this. The demand for this skill set is growing.
Okay.
Because as the world becomes more complex, as we grapple with these questions of bioethics, AI, the global implications of religious beliefs, the need for people who can navigate those complexities with nuance, with expertise, it's only increasing.
So it's less about proving like one religion right or wrong.
Exactly.
And more about like
it's about
understanding how these beliefs influence our world.
Yes, how they shape our values, our ethics, how they play out in a world.
Especially with technology changing so fast.
Especially as technology.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's moving at a breakneck speed.
It's so true.
And that's where I think what you brought up about the transferable skill is huge. It's not just about like, mastering religious doctrine or something.
Right.
It's really about cultivating a versatile mind that can analyze, that can communicate, that can bridge different perspectives. Those skills are so valuable in any profession, really.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
That's what I think makes this career path so fascinating, even if someone, ends up working outside of academia or religious institutions.
Yeah, I got to say, this whole deep dive has really changed my perspective because I came in thinking, like, religion and science. How does that even, like, how do you even put those two together?
Right.
But now I'm seeing it more as less about proving or disproving.
Exactly.
And more about how these things are intertwined.
It's about the interplay between belief, ethics, logic, and how those shape our world,
Right. Exactly.
It's fascinating.
It is. So
it is.
Any final thoughts for our listeners out there who are like,
let me think,
super intrigued by all of this?
Well, we've talked a lot about, the growing need for ethical guidance in areas like, AI, right?
Right, yeah.
Imagine what a religion scientific researcher could bring to that conversation.
Oh, wow, yeah.
They wouldn't just be asking, can we build it?
Right.
They'd be asking, like, should we?
Right.
And if so, how?
Right.
What are the ethical boundaries? What are the potential unintended consequences?
Because they're looking at it through a completely different lens.
A completely different lens.
Yeah.
It'd be bringing centuries of philosophical and religious thought to help guide us towards a future that's both innovative, but also ethically grounded.
It's not just about understanding the past. It's about
shaping the future.
Shaping the future.
Yeah.
Wow,
It's exciting stuff.
That's amazing.
It is.
Well, on that note, listeners, if this conversation sparked your curiosity, we highly encourage you to check out the full source material because, we're just scratching the surface here. And trust me, there's a whole world of fascinating insights waiting to be discovered. Until next time, stay curious.